Welcome to Innovating Music, a podcast from the UCLA Herb Alpert School of Music and the UCLA Center for Music Innovation. I'm your host, Dr. Gigi Johnson. I'm Gigi Johnson, your host, and I am talking solo this week. I am doing this session as an invitation to May 15th. If you're in Los Angeles, you can come join us live for a free ticket while supplies last. Or if you are able to join us online via Zoom, you'll be able to sign up there too. And technology willing, we will have a simulcast of the conference. And in fact, we'll have one panel that is all remote. Please join us on May 15th for Amplifying Music in our Los Angeles. Some of you already know the reason we're having this event. Several years ago, I was at South by Southwest, and I was going to session after session of people talking about music cities, talking about all the challenges happening in so many cities around the world with live events, the challenges, what was happening with venues closing, and the economics of especially smaller live venues having big challenges in the current era. And my question kept coming back to what in the world is happening in Los Angeles? If those are music cities and trying to be music cities, what about Los Angeles? So we're going to be having a session on May 15th at UCLA at the Charles E. Young Research Library. Beautiful space for conferences. And the core question of the day is going to be, how can we support Los Angeles's music scenes, and we have many of them, and work together to continue to create something robust, diverse, and dynamic in this changing era. So this day-long conference will expand the conversation that was started at an event that the City of Los Angeles Department of Cultural Affairs held on February 6th as part of the whole Compose LA series, where we were looking at how does Los Angeles grow, connect, and collaborate around its diverse music scenes. So if these other cities are challenged by gentrification, which I consider somewhat of a extensively coded word that has so many layers in it, in having vibrant live music scenes, we have two questions that we're going to be sharing that day. The first one is, why does Los Angeles seem to be growing despite the difficulties that we went on at length about in February? And then how can we enhance and amplify this growth? So if you'd like to see some of the puzzle pieces before now, you can go to musicinla.org, which will take you to, redirect to where we have map of the city overlaying, and it's map of the city, formal venues, and formal venues from certain lists. Mapping of the city has turned into one of the interesting hot buttons of all of this. In fact, at the conference, we're going to have one group who's called the Now Institute, who is mapping the formal and informal and festival scenes of this city and taking a look at where they live. And then we have separate mapping for rehearsal spaces. We have different mappings for all the different pieces. And interestingly, if you overlay these maps on income and ethnicity, you find that we have some really interesting things going on in our city and probably in your city as well. So one of those map sets is at musicinla.org. And if you'd like to get an invitation to the event, you can link from there, or to go to musicinla.eventbrite.com, and you can sign up for both the live ticket while supplies last and the remote ticket via Zoom. So we're going to be having a great group of folks. I think we're up to something like 50 panelists across the day. We'll start out with an introduction by me and Professor Bob Fink, who is our chair of the music industry program. And I think actually by then we'll have some really interesting news about some things happening in the program. Ben Johnson's going to welcome us from the City of Los Angeles Department of Cultural Affairs. He was the host and convener of the February event. Then the Now Institute is going to talk to us about what Los Angeles looks like. The Director of Research from Beacon Economics, Adam Fowler, is going to talk about Los Angeles economic trends and trajectories having to do with music. We'll have a roundtable talking about who's Los Angeles and what are we creating, including anything from the new Los Angeles Nightlife Alliance, Grand Performances, Santa Monica Public Library, Dub Lab, wonderful folks from joining us for that panel, several others as well. We're going to talk about research that's been done by my undergraduate students. We're going to talk about Los Angeles as a music incubator and a place for film and television, looking at Los Angeles from the global scene, looking at the physical and transportation Los Angeles. And then we're going to be joined at 11:30 by folks from other music cities about what it means to be a music city and their experiences and their challenges. And that will then take us into an entire second half of the day looking at creating and programming events and concerts, creating communities and collectives, music tech investors and incubators, and the support systems of a city. So hopefully you can join us, you can follow along, you can watch on Zoom. We hope to have a recording of the whole day again, like we have a recording of February 6th, which you can go to musicinla.org and listen to. And we hope to be having a lot of additional opportunities, celebrations, curiosities, new programming and programs that come out of these conversations. So thank you very much for listening to my enthusiasm for this event. It's been a couple of years in coming and a follow-on to the great event that was back in February. The reason we're looking at it, the reason we started looking at it, not just going to South by Southwest, the reason I began to take a look at this was I began to ask the question, which I'm still driving at through all of this. How is streaming impacting live performance? Is it affecting, if I can go to any concert, if I can watch Coachella via YouTube from the privacy of my own home, does that mean there's a bigger audience, or is this affecting what happens with the local live performance? Do I need to get up and go? Will I ever discover the concerts happening, because there is so much volume of not just new music, but the ability to listen and find and discover and be satiated and not need to be going to a concert. Now, I'm not of an age group that goes to concerts. Let me praise that. I'm not of an age group that goes to concerts with a lot of frequency. I do go to concerts much more often than people in my traditional demographic. Is it, though, that we have very few people as a percentage of the population that are supporting the live music scene, and that is somehow getting narrower, or that the occasional participants are not leaving their homes? We've seen this in other sectors, and we're trying to get our arms around how can live figure out how to thrive in a streaming music environment. What can we do with streaming data? What can we do with streaming content, expanding experiences, new technologies? That will not be this conference. That will be a follow-on we'll be having, and this is what we're going to be continuing to push on that thread from the Center for Music Innovation and from this podcast on innovating music. So we welcome conversations about that. If you'd like to listen to further conversations, please join us everywhere you listen to your podcasts. And please, if you listen on Apple Podcasts, take a minute to review. We get a lot of input from all of our listeners, many of our listeners. But what we don't get is reviews, that people stop and review in the site. They'll email me, they'll share the podcast, and all of that is welcome. But it's great if you go in and also review us. It helps the algorithms on those different podcast listening places to help recommend us to other people. So we appreciate that, and we look forward to seeing some of you and hearing some of you on May 15th. Thanks for listening.
Well, that wraps up this podcast. Many thanks to the UCLA Herb Alpert School of Music and the UCLA Center for Music Innovation for being our hosts of this ongoing series. You can subscribe to us in all the usual places, or you can come find us at innovation.schoolofmusic.ucla.edu. Join us again to follow the other adventures that we will be tracking down in innovating music. Thanks again.